Well, hello, my friends. Today, chapter 5. This chapter gives us a lot of help for living our life. You see, this chapter describes well our experience as Christians in this life. It expresses what it means for us to live in this world while being citizens of another. Let me start with the first two verses. For we know that if the earthly tent, which is our house, is torn down, we have a building from God, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. For indeed, in this house we groan, longing to be clothed with our dwelling from heaven. This earthly tent or house is, of course, our physical body. Our born-again spirit lives in this temporary body, but we know there is a perfect spiritual body awaiting us. You see, after his resurrection, Jesus gave us a glimpse of what these new bodies will be like. Jesus materialized in the locked rooms, ascended up into the clouds, and traveled between heaven and earth at will. You know what? I'm looking forward to that body. They will be bodies without any pain, sickness, disabilities, or weakness. In fact, bodies without any limitations at all. But for now, while our spirits have been made new, our bodies are still very much of this world. In verse 16 of the previous chapter, we read these words, quote, while our inner man is being renewed every day, our outer man is decaying. And the truth is, there is nothing we can do to stop that decay, and really very little we can do even to delay it. And a sign of the ignorance and foolishness of our culture is this obsession with our temporary bodies and physical appearance, while at the same time ignoring our spirits. Now, every Christian must resist this strong influence from our culture if we are to grow spiritually into the fullness of Christ. We must reverse it and value our spiritual well-being and develop over the physical. Verse 4 sums up our present struggle. Let's read verse 4. For indeed, while we are in this tent, we groan, being burdened because we do not want to be unclothed, but to be clothed. So that which is mortal will be swallowed up by life. You see, we desire heaven, but we fear death. We groan and are burdened by the difficulties of this life, but we are afraid of being unclothed of these physical bodies. We want immortal bodies, but we don't want to go through the unsettling process of death. You know, the comedian Woody Allen spoke for me and probably for you when he said, I'm not afraid to die. I just don't want to be there when it happens. Now, Paul tells us in this struggle to be of good courage and gives us the secret in verse 7 when he says, for we walk by faith and not by sight. And you know, this is the great requirement and challenge of this life. Our culture and even our human nature presses us to live by what we can see, to be primarily focused on the concerns and the things of this world. But God calls us to learn to live out of the faith and understanding He has put within us. So let me ask you a question. Are you learning to live by faith more and more each day? Are you keeping your focus on spiritual realities as you walk through this life? Do you rest secure in your faith, even as the world rages around you? The Bible calls us to have an enlightened view as we go through each day of our life. Can I read verses 9 through 10? Therefore also we have as our ambition, whether at home in the body or absent from the body, to be pleasing to Him. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each one may be recompensed for his deeds in the body according to what he has done, whether good or bad. You see, we should live each day in the light of eternity, rather than get caught up in our culture's selfish pursuit of instant gratification. One day we will all stand before the judgment seat of Christ, and then we will not be judged by this world's standards or philosophies, but rather by the standards of Jesus. We will either be rewarded for our faithfulness or suffer loss due to our foolishness. This life is short. And when we enter into eternity, we will either forever rejoice in or forever sadly regret the priorities and decisions of this short life. Now in verses 11 through 21, we are given a new understanding and motivation for our life. Verse 16 reminds us that once we come to Christ and are born again, the old passes away and everything becomes new. Our whole life changes radically, and we are made new. We no longer serve our lust and selfish pride because now we have a new master. Verse 14. For the love of Christ controls us. For the love of Christ controls us, having concluded this, that one died for all, therefore all died. Now we serve love. And Christ's love in our heart causes us to love our fellow beings. We no longer see people as competitors or enemies, but now they are precious to us because Christ died for them. And we want everyone to have the new life Christ purchased for them on the cross. Well, what else has become new? Well, we also have a new assignment, verse 18. Now, all these things are from God, who reconciled us to himself through Christ and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. Our new assignment is to help others to become reconciled to God through Christ. Remember, Christ died on the cross to reconcile all people to himself. And then he went back to heaven and he left the ministry in our hands. And we now have a new title and job description as well. Verse 20 calls us ambassadors for Christ. Wherever we work, wherever we go, wherever we live, we are ambassadors trying to reconcile people to Christ. Our homes are neighborhood embassies of the kingdom of God. Have you thought about that lately? That you are an ambassador and your home is a neighborhood embassy? We should remind ourselves of it every day. And another thing that is new is that we have a new and different motivation for our actions. It's one that the world does not understand. And Paul states this in verse 13. For if we are besides ourselves, or crazy is how we say it today, it is for God. If we are of sound mind, it is for you. Often people don't understand us and think we're crazy extremists because of what we do and how we live. And they're right. We are crazy in love with God and extreme in our desire to honor him and extend his kingdom. And since they don't know God, nor do they have his spirit, they cannot understand our devotion to God. But on the other hand, we also act with sound minds and wisdom in our efforts to spread God's love, God's kingdom, and to help other people. Even if our love for God seems crazy to others, our good works done in wisdom do them great benefit. You see, we are both heavenly minded, but we also do great earthly good. We must not let the ridicule of others deter us. If we sow good spiritual seed wisely, we will see a good harvest. And remember, as verse 16 states, we no longer judge ourselves or anyone else according to the flesh, that is, according to the natural mind. Now we see God's possibilities in ourselves and in all others. Everything has become new to us. We have a new master, love. We have a new assignment, reconciling people to God. A new job description, we're ambassadors, and a new motivation and perspective on everything. If you learn well the lessons of this chapter, you will live a joyful and fulfilling life here, and you'll be well prepared for the next life. Have a wonderful and blessed day.